What is up, you beautiful viewers? So the other day I was at an indoor flea market and I found this for $2. Now it's got an awesome frame. Everything's still in good condition. It definitely needs to be cleaned and I got to prep this first. And I have no idea what I'm going to paint on this, but I'll think of that while I'm doing all the prep work.
The first part of prep work was opening the back of the painting. So I grabbed a utility knife and carefully started to cut around the outer perimeter and remove everything that was on there so that I could see exactly how this panel looked and make sure it's something even worth painting on.
I got some cleaning product that says countertop spray. Yeah, whatever. This will clean it, right? If it cleans countertops, it should clean the Polemo de Café. Yeah. Sorry. Terrible French. Je ne parle français. And we're going to use it to clean this frame as well. So let's hope that cleans it good enough. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I kind of want to see what happens when I sand the surface, just to kind of scuff it up a little bit. I think the paint might adhere a little better, so I'm going to try that. Now that that's all sanded, you can see that there's a little bit of imperfection here, so I'm going to grab some gesso and just run a little layer just right over this section, just to kind of smooth everything out. So while that's drying, I'm going to photograph it with my iPad, put it into the iPad, and try to think of something to paint on this. It's been about a week. I've had a lot of other projects going on, but I did get a chance to draw something. So I drew this kind of graffiti lizard kind of character that I'm going to transfer onto this piece of wood. So I'm going to slap that on there. And I'm going to use graphite paper to transfer the image onto the board. So I'm going to walk you through that now. Sorry if this is repetitive from my last acrylic video, but for those of you that haven't seen this done, basically you just cut the transfer paper to fit the size of the board that you're transferring it on, whether it's your canvas, whatever you want to transfer an image onto. And you want to make sure that the shiny side is down and that that kind of matte finish side is up. And you tape it around to the back of the board. Once everything's in place, you can grab your image and you're also going to tape that onto the front of the board. Once everything's in place, you can grab a pen and then you're going to just trace out the image. And the pressure that you're applying while tracing over your picture is going to transfer that onto the board. When that's all done, you can take all of the tape off and flip it over and it should hopefully look something like this. And since everything's prepped and ready, it is finally time to paint. For this painting, I'm using the Golden Fluid Acrylics, and my newer brushes are all from Trickel. I just poured out my palette, but this is strictly for the background. I didn't want to waste all the paint and pour everything right away. I did order one of those wet palettes that I'm kind of curious about and interested to use, so that should be in soon, and I can tell you guys all about it once I get it. But yeah, this is just me laying in some of the background tones. And this kind of backfired. I think for the future, I'd like to lay in a background first and then maybe transfer my image onto it so that I don't have to work around it as much and worry about covering it. So yeah, it's always a learning process, but I think I'm going to try that on my next piece. As far as planning goes, I don't like to do a whole lot of planning with the color. I kind of like to just create it as I go because if it's too planned, I already know what it's going to look like. It's not as fun. It's not as exciting. So I started laying in these cool tones for a sky, and I thought maybe I would just blend subtly into a warm tone for the ground.
And once decisions like these are made, it kind of helps me to make the next decision moving forward for what colors I'm going to pick from there. So with that being said, you could see it's kind of nice that there's the warm tones in the ground that are kind of being replayed now in the sky on the top of the canvas, because I am going in for that roller pad that we use to buff the wall. So it kind of replays, a yellowy, warmish tone. And I'm kind of now working on the tongue. So introducing some other warm tones, some of the pinks, and these just kind of help bounce off the cool tones in the sky. So if that's something that you're struggling with in your work, is making sure that, colors are being replayed and making your eyes move around the canvas in a pleasing way, then be aware of that, So you can make decisions based on what colors are already laid in. I have the nice cool background, enough warm tones to lead your eye around. I decided it is a cool tone going with the purple for the character, but it works so well because it's a different cool tone. Now that I've kind of talked about color, and you can see I've based the majority of colors, I still obviously have not done the rest of the character, but my main colors are picked. So from here, it's all about layering. You could see I go in with a hairdryer to dry sections and then layer on top of that. And what I'm doing is just thinning out the paint, whether it's with matte medium or with water, either or. Honestly, I kind of use a little mixture of both. And that just helps me to get a dry layer and then go back over it and kind of create a glaze. So whether it's a darker glaze, doing some highlights, it just gives it that more dimension to it. I should also point out I am not a expert in painting. I have barely done acrylic painting. This is just, lately I've been getting into them, and this is just what works for me. This may not work for everybody, but this is what works for me. So I'm always learning. I'm curious to see what your guys' thoughts are, if there's something you do differently. One of the techniques that I do that you can also see going on throughout this piece is I'm laying in wet paint and then putting like a lighter tone of wet paint on top of it and using a dry brush to kind of blend it. So it's just a wet dry technique where you wet the paint, or apply wet paint, I should say, and blend it with the dry brush. And now I can probably point out that you could see that the belly of the character that I've created, I've brought back warm tones. So it's nice to see the ground kind of a little bit like replayed in the sky. It's all finding what colors kind of bounce off each other but complement each other, hence complementary colors. If you're curious how long this painting took, I'm honestly not really sure. I know that it was technically 3 sessions. It probably could have been done in one, at least 2, but it got broken into 3 sessions because I didn't have a whole lot of time. So I started this at my shop, at my studio, and I was working on it for 2 days there. And then you'll see later on, I have a better camera angle at my house. So thankfully you'll get to see more of the left side, the left angle. I know my right hand is kind of blocking some of this. I do apologize. It was just the best scenario that I could set up while I was at the shop painting. And hey, look at that. I'm at my house. So this is a much better camera angle where you can kind of see straight on exactly what I'm doing. And I saved my personal favorite part till the end, the eyes. And luckily, I'm going to go over this step by step with you guys. Again, I'm no master at painting. I am just dabbling with this. But typically when I approach eyes, I like to layer in the dark spots first and then go in with a mid-tone and add my highlights. So what I'm doing is, again, with the blow dryer, is I'm just kind of drying out the paint and then layering more and more on top till I get that dimension that I'm looking for. So for the eyeball itself, I used a nice ochre tone, started adding some highlights so it looks rounded. I also added some shadows because where the lid is of the eye, you're going to have a shadow from the lid because of the light source. And you just want to show some of the curvature. You also want to make sure that there is a lighter part in the iris where the light is going through the eye because of transparency. There's much better tutorials on that. I'm sorry that I'm not going in depth on that because I don't know a lot about it. I just know that it looks pretty cool. So that's why I do it. Now that the eyes are pretty much done, I'm just kind of fine tuning, just relining some areas. and the glasses are mapped in, but we need to make a transparent effect for the lens themselves. I really was not sure if this was going to work, but what I did was I poured out a little matte medium and mixed in some white and blue, like a whitish teal, and just kind of started lightly putting that into the lens area and just using the dry brush to just kind of streak it out and just blend it in as best I could. And I got to say, I was really happy with the outcome. The only thing left to do is to just put a protective coat on it. I'm in the backyard. If you guys didn't see this piece behind me yet, the making of it, you could check that out on my channel. It's posted on there. And I'm going to spray the painting with the clear polyurethane real quick, just to give a quick coat to protect it. I'm so close to done, but I still have to put it in the frame. It's all dry right here. So I'm going to slap it into this frame. I cut a new piece of cardboard so that it can go in the back. And you can see that these little hanging things are put on the side, not up here. So I do have an extra one that I bought that I'm going to put right there. So let's get this thing together. I got this tape to put along the backside. And yeah, once that's done, I can put it up on the website and maybe it'll find a home with one of you guys. So the first thing I mentioned doing was putting it into the frame itself, and that I cut this piece of cardboard to fit in there perfectly. And now I'm actually using a product that is new to me. It's a water adhesive tape. So I'm using a paper towel that I'm soaking with water to run across the tape strip and then adhere to the back of the frame. And it's kind of like paper mache. Once all the tape was put in place, I needed to attach the sawtooth hanger to the back of the frame. I placed the hoodie down to protect the frame and the table and nailed the sawtooth hanger right in place. I always say there's no mistakes, just more content, but I kind of messed up. So I was wondering what these, little areas, these staples were that were protruding. I forgot they're supposed to actually go down and hold the painting in place better. So I'm going to have to cut all this and replace the tape again. This was a really dumb error on my part, but it's okay. It's okay. It's all part of the process. Okay, you can see these are the little staples I'm talking about. You push them down and it helps hold the board so it doesn't wobble back and forth as much. All right, guys, that's it. The painting is done. It is put back together. The back is all sealed. I also put it up on the website, kbuart.com, where I have plenty of other merch available. I've got stickers, pins. I've got original artwork. I've got prints. I've got t-shirts. So yeah, check it out. Maybe get yourself something. If you guys enjoyed this video, maybe think about leaving a like, maybe subscribe, maybe share it with someone. If there's something that you guys want to know more about, definitely let me know in the comments, all right? As always, thanks so much for watching, and here's the final product.